Okay, so do a little video on the 3 Robotics Y6. Tell you some things I did, and it is a heavy, tricopter, but it works really well. Now, the first thing I did was I put the Gropner 8x6 props, because the 10-inch props that come with it, I find just hovering, the motors will get quite hot with the 4S. Now, I went ahead and I tried a 3S battery, and it would not fly. Basically it would barely hover off the ground, so it's made for 4S. So these motors, with those 10-inch props, I find it was getting too hot, so I switched to these 8x6 props. They work great. As you can see, the next modification that I did was on the bottom is from the Ironman Tarot 680. They have these booms which I didn't use, so I went ahead and I measured it out and screwed, basically drilled some holes that were needed, screwed them in, and this is what holds my gimbal. Next we'll talk about the let's see, the battery. Now these are from Hobby King. They're 4S 5200 milliamp 10C batteries. You can get them from roughly $16 to $20 a piece, and they'll give you about 6 minutes of flight time if you set your voltage to land. I think mine's set to 14.6, and when it lands it's at perfect storage voltage. So I mean, you can get a little bit longer flight time, but I stayed about 7 minutes with this battery. Now I went ahead and I got the 10,000 milliamp battery packs. They're about $60 from Hobby King, and this pack, if I fly it to storage voltage, it'll give me about 11 minutes of flight time, and it's a pretty heavy pack. It's around 900 grams, so but it functions properly on this. The only thing I had to do was I used the XT60 connectors because I'm not drawing that much current, and it comes with the XT90, so I had to cut it off, and I did have to solder those XT60s. So if you buy these batteries, make sure you get a couple, just the male plug that goes onto the battery if you want to swap it over. And then next thing on here, as you can see, what I did for easy access, I mounted the voltage and current sensor to the leg. I don't do much folding of the quad, and basically gives me easy access to the battery. The next thing I installed was a Futaba 8-channel S-Bus receiver. Goes into the Pixhawk. It works great. And this is the transmitter, and I do have the center throttle. That way I don't have to worry about it. Now, if you're in, say, manual mode or stabilized mode, you have to adjust the throttle. I want to say with the 8x6s, you need to hold up a little bit. It won't quite hover in the center. Now if you're using 10-inch props, it'll just continue to climb. So what I did was, if you set it in altitude hold mode or loiter mode, when you first arm it, you're gonna hold it down, hold it to the left, it'll arm. You just let it go, and it'll slowly the throttle will barely spin the props, and then once you lift up and let it, then it'll hold. So I recommend, once you get everything set up, is do altitude hold, and it'll work fine. Next thing I seriously recommend is doing an auto tune on this craft, because it's real floaty when you first turn it on, and basically I just use the preset Y6 B configuration, where all the top props are clockwise rotation, and the bottom are counterclockwise, and the B rotation, and I set it all the defaults for basically the Y6B, and I had to do an auto tune. Now, one thing with auto tune, you want to set each direction inside of the full parameters list. It's auto tune, and you'll notice that number 1, I think it is, or I'm not sure of the numbers, but it'll do the roll, and it takes a full 7 minutes off of the default settings. So it takes about 7 minutes. You do the roll, it'll do a high-pitched beep while you're doing your auto tune. Now, to set up the auto tune, what I did is I basically took off an altitude hold. So I took it off, As soon as I get it up to a fair height, you don't have to get it super far away from you. I did maybe I don't know, maybe 50 feet from me, maybe 12 feet off the ground, and lifting off in altitude hold, I switch auto tune, it starts doing its motions. And then once it finally gives me the beat that it's finished, I go ahead and land, don't switch any of the switches, I land in altitude hold, disarm, and then that way it'll save your auto tune settings. But I did roll first, which takes about 7 minutes or so, then landed it, then I do pitch, takes about 7 minutes, same thing, landed it, then it does yaw, and then landed it. So it's 3 batteries, so be prepared with this craft because it's a little heavy, that when you're doing auto tune, it's going to take a while. And everything else, okay, the ESCs. What I did with the ESCs, since there's 6 of them, I put 2 in the front and 2 flat on the inside and 2 in the back. Okay, and then on my battery straps, I basically just placed some Velcro straps down the bottom, and I basically lined the end of my battery with that screw for the bottom boom. And as you can see, I put the hook and loop, you know, one side on the battery, doesn't matter which one. But when I go ahead and mount it, I just mount it upright like this. Gives me where with CG or whatever, I can move the battery back and forth. But I put it all the way back. It flies excellent without the gimbal on. Now, with the 10,000, it's the same thing. With this particular battery, the way it's set up, and I had the distances where I went ahead and put the gimbal on to set my, basically my width of how I have to install it, and basically just made it fit. And then now the 10,000, it fits in there perfect. I strap it. You can put the battery lead forward, back, whatever you prefer. I said when you got the gimbal on, you go ahead and turn it around, put your battery lead in the back. But yeah, the 10,000 is the way to go. All right, and then now I have the gimbal, which I just have my basically this coming off the power is well, coming off of the little control board that's provided with the kit. It has the JST type connector on it, and then I can go ahead and easily just pop this on, and I can slide it back and forth to get you know, everything out of the way. Props, you know, especially with that big battery, you can slide it around. Now I would say I would fly it for I guess 9 minutes with this with the gimbal on it. But you can easily slide the gimbal on. All I do is take the power connector, plug it into here. You can run the power connector however you like, run it to the back. Now I haven't tried FPV yet. What I have that I'm going to install is a Thunderbolt 1 watt 5.8 gig transmitter, and on my Futaba 8FG I have the 3D Robotics what is it called, the Black Pearl monitor. It works fantastic. Comes with 2 batteries, charger. I do have the data radio to plug into the computer so I can monitor things. But yeah, I'll let me go ahead and zoom in, and I'll give you a a decent shot of the bottom and the sides. Okay, let's see if it'll focus. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here and start it back up. That way it'll focus correctly. Well, it looks like it focused now. That's fine. Okay, and this last part of the video, I'll just kind of turn the craft and flip it upside down and basically give you a little closer shot of different things. Okay, so we got the front. Got the right side, got the back side, left side, and the front. So we'll switch up. I can kind of show you. Switch in here, so you can see how everything's kind of mounted. And we'll flip the bottom. But I have really fun, I've really fun time flying it. and it performs really well once you do an auto tune. But thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe. The next project I have going on is I'm working on a Turnigy Texumo APM, 2.6 GPS, 200 milliwatt 5.8 video transmitter, and that video will be coming soon. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.